special meeting of the Charter Revision Commission. Prue, can you call the order or close the meeting?
Yes, I will. Thank you. Okay, so I know Chair Caffarelli's not here, and Vice Chair Chris Brogan.
Present.
Secretary Marlene Batista. Present. And Commissioner Iacono said she would be logging in a little bit late, so I don't see her yet. So Jay Gross, I know, is unable to attend tonight. John Matola. Okay, I see you. Thanks, John. And John Wynn.
Present.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, we have a quorum. Please rise and we'll say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So the purpose of this meeting is to receive public comments on the discussions we've been having over the last few months. So I'd like to first thank everybody for the comments we've gotten. I know we've gotten a number since our last meeting. So we appreciate that. We're not individually responding to comments, so if anybody doesn't hear back, that's the practice we're having. What we're doing, our Attorney Mednick, is incorporating them into the plan he has, and they'll be noted there. And hopefully by this time this is all over, through that or maybe through an output document, we'll be able to sort of respond in general. A lot of the comments run on a similar vein, but we'll be able to explain what we were able to incorporate and what we didn't. But we are considering every comment, and we appreciate that. We will, I guess, Prue can set up callers one by one. Maybe Prue can, in a minute, can explain the process.
Yes, I'm trying to send. Someone had asked. Someone sent me a message that they didn't know if they were on right now, and I do see, Mr. Flatto, I do see you on the screen. You are muted, so I can. If you know how to unmute, just do *6. You can unmute yourself if you wanted to make sure we could hear you. Okay, so maybe he's not there. If anybody would like to make a public comment, I think what Chair Caffarelli usually does is have them put their name in the comment section.
Right, okay.
In the chat.
I am here, sorry. Whenever you want.
And before we get going, just so everybody knows, a comment, we appreciate hearing it. We won't be responding to it tonight. Commission members won't be, unless there's some question just to clarify what the comment is. We're here to sort of take in the comments. And with that, I'm sorry. So I guess Mr. Flatto, I think is true that.
Yes.
Mr. Flatto's first up. Welcome to the commission, and please go ahead.
Well, thank you very much, members, and I hope you're enjoying your work. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks. I tried the phone, but this seems easier. So, hi, this is former First Selectman Kenneth Flatto. It's a pleasure being here at the meeting, and I probably should have done this earlier, but I thought it would be helpful to offer you a few thoughts and comments about the revision. I won't give you all the detail that I wrote to you in the comments, but I did want to overview a few of the thoughts and some suggestions based on, my experience having been on the boards and as First Selectman for many years and working with 2 charter revision commissions in the past. There are 4 or 5 areas that I'd like to cover, but I just wanted to start by saying one thing in big picture. I think for the most part, I would recommend to you that the Fairfield Charter has been an amazingly remarkable document in a lot of ways. And the structure of our government, in my opinion, has served the town faithfully well in a tremendous fashion, primarily because of the myriad of checks and balances that are current in our charter. It may sometimes seem cumbersome to some to have multiple boards and commissions in the process from selectmen through RTM, but frankly, in the long run, I think it gives our town a lot of protection to make sure that processes are done properly, and fairly and responsibly. So I would recommend no wholesale changes to our town government system. I really think historically it's worked well, in particular with the Selectmen, Board of Finance, and RTM. With that said, 5 quick points. One, in the provisions of the charter that involve appointing department heads that are appointed by town boards and commissions, such as fire, police chief, librarian, you'll see language that's somewhat confusing because a first selectman is required and is statutorily must approve the appointment after the Board of Commission votes their hiring. That process can be very sticky, and I remember numerous instances where a board or a first selectman will take different perspectives, and if they're not in sync, the language can lead to a very ambiguous process that in the past, maybe not recently, but in the past, held up appointments of key officials. So I suggested some language to maybe make that more specific, and a process with a first selectman disagrees, how they could go about fixing that to ultimately hire the position. The contract section of the charter is also somewhat ambiguous because it says the Board of Selectmen for all contracts, if you read it carefully, but the practice has been that's primarily delegated to a first selectman. So my suggestion is that you create ranges of dollars and terms. So it's clear, hey, the first selectman should obviously approve small contracts. I think in the past, the Board of Selectmen has delegated up to $10,000. That should probably be raised, but there should be clear authority. And it's same with the Board of Selectmen. If a contract is significant in a large fashion of dollars a term, it would seem to me those should go to the Board of Finance and RTM for final approval. Most first selectmen have done that over the years for significant townwide issues, but there's no clarity in the charter. The third section is kind of simple. I think you've already addressed this. Our town treasurer is kind of a volunteer position that's been very sparsely used. And I would recommend that you combine that provision with the town controller, which is another appointed official, and that controller could handle the town treasurer responsibilities as part of their daily job, and the volunteer treasurer doesn't really make sense. The last 2 things are more important, and I'd like to kind of dwell on them for just 1 minute. The first is, as most of you know, the budget process allows the Board of Finance to make all significant decisions, pass those to the RTM, and then the RTM can make changes to an annual budget by decreasing budget lines. But the RTM has no authority to increase a budget line. And the process, the only way one can do that is if a board or commission goes through a process to seek that, and then to have the RTM override the Board of Finance with a 2/3 vote. In my personal opinion, a legislative body is important enough that they should have some authority to be able to raise a budget if they feel strongly. So in the letter to you, I suggested a process where the RTM, with a certain number of officials on the RTM, could petition to have up to 3 appeals that the full RTM would hear, where a number of RTM members feel it could be the Board of Ed budget, it could be a departmental budget line of significance, where they'd like to have it reconsidered, not just down, but up. And I suggested a process that would require a supermajority and an appeal process that I think might give the RTM a little more flexibility and responsibility with the budget process. And again, I'm not going to go through the detail because I know a lot of people want to speak. The last comment I'd like to make is, and it hasn't been a recent issue, and I'm sorry, Liz, could you turn off the water, please? Sorry about that. In the referendum process, there hasn't been one recently, but in my era and in previous to me with former first selectmen, referendums used to be very frequent. And the dollar level to submit a referendum and to get signatures to allow a referendum is 20, 30 years old. Anything over $150,000, citizens can organize and seek to have a referendum. In my opinion, that should be raised to $1.5 million. That's an old number that just is, historically low, doesn't make sense, can lead to a lot of frivolous referendums if somebody really wanted to undertake gumming up the town works. So with that said, I hope you heard all that. Trying to keep my comments to a minimum. I'm happy on any occasion if there's anything in particular that you'd like to ask, to impart anything that I have from my past experience. Really appreciate your time and good luck with your process. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Mr. Flatto. Appreciate that. Did any of the commission members have any clarifying questions? Seeing none? Okay,
Well,
thank you very much.
I'm
Excuse me?
sorry, this is Prue, and I just wanted to say, whoever, I believe Kate Braun I see is the next person who I'm going to call on, but we would need, please, you to say your name and your address when you're speaking. So, Mr. Flatto, can I have your address?
Absolutely, thank you. So it's Ken Flatto, 3200 Park Avenue, Bridgeport 06604. Former longtime Fairfielder. Maybe once again one day. Anyway, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next.
Okay, that's Kate Braun, please.
Hi, I can't get the video to work. I'm in my car, but you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Yes, I currently serve on the Town Plan and Zoning Commission. I'm not speaking on their behalf, obviously. I did serve 3 terms as an RTM member, and I was on the Fair TV Commission as well. So I submitted comments as part of the boards and commissions meeting you had. I think it was November 8th. I was able to put a letter together for tonight, but you didn't get it till about 10 minutes ago. So I'll just reiterate some of my comments from that. And I want to start by thanking Mr. Flatto. I agree with about 90% of what he said. I believe that the government works well the way it is. We should be approaching co-equal branches of government, with the legislative and the executive being able to be checks and balances on each other. So I do not believe we should do anything to minimize or reduce the power of the legislative branch, which is the RTM. I agree with everything he said. I'm not sure about combining treasurer and controller. I don't have enough expertise on that. I don't think I agree with the referendum point, but I agree with pretty much all his other points, and I thank him for that. He thought of some things I didn't think of. So I'll just adopt those points that he made. I also agree with all the points made in a letter I received today from the Fairfield Taxpayer Group. Having many boards and commissions is a good thing. It promotes civic shared responsibility. There's hardly a person you can go down the road if you're in a board or commission that you don't know, because you just run into people. And when so many people are involved in government, they tend to have more of a sense of powerfulness and get their questions answered. And then they run into people that aren't involved, and they feel like they have a voice. And I think if you start reducing the numbers of commissions under the sort of goal of being streamlined, you're going to lose a lot of that. You're also going to lose a lot of representation, expertise, the ability to do deep dives and research into areas that need that in order to make well-founded decisions and planning for our town. And I don't think it should be streamlined, and I don't think power should be centralized. So the way it's set up now is good. Things go bad when bad actors go in, or when people behave negligently. And you can have checks and balances and more procedures and oversight within the current manner of government. You don't have to change it to a mayoral or more of a city type of government. I certainly don't think we should get rid of the RTM and replace it with a city council. We should not get rid of district representation. I was at a zoning commission meeting this week, and there was a member of the RTM who spoke on behalf of his neighbors. We like hearing from representatives who talk to the neighbors. They have more of a voice that way. As far as land use, which is my area of interest, I feel like we should have more emphasis on that. The laws are coming down from Hartford quickly, and more of our powers are being perhaps usurped, but it's also getting more complicated. We need more budget for our staff, not less. The Conservation Department, unfortunately, sustained, I think, an 18% staff cut during the current fiscal year. I haven't looked at the budget yet now that's being proposed, but that should be restored. In the zoning department, we have excellent staff, but I think with the new laws that could be passed, I don't know if they will be passed, I'm monitoring them closely. It's going to require more time, more dedication, more involvement to understand what we can do and what we can't do to protect our town, our natural resources, plan for resiliency in light of climate change and everything else. We also, I believe, all the land use departments should have the ability to draw on their budget to retain experts to do deep dives and provide reporting to us on projects that come before us. Because usually we only have experts from the development side, we don't usually hear any other points of view. And the other town departments, they don't have a budget to spend a lot of time, writing a traffic report. So we should have that added in. I don't know if that should be in the charter or not, but it certainly needs to be emphasized. I think the other points I made are in my letter that you get, and that will be in the record, but those are kind of the highlights I had.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Braun. Any of the commission members have any clarifying questions? Yes. Marlene, go ahead.
Oh, hi. Yes. Hi, Ms. Braun. Thank you. And thank you for your time serving on the Planning and Zoning, the TPZ. I did have one question. I'm just reading your notes that you sent to us. Can you just expand a little bit on your Director of Department of Public Works comment?
I believe that we need more expertise, not less. Currently, we have an acting director. I don't know anything about the person, but I don't believe the person who's been an acting director for over a year now is qualified under our charter to be the Director of Public Works. I think we should have a director that has the expertise, because they run large projects. They have to pull from many resources. They should not have to rely on the expertise of random other people in order to know what to do. They have to be the one that quarterbacks these large public projects. And they should not have to rely on somebody else in the engineering department to have an engineering degree. The engineering degree is critical. It's important. We need to up our expertise, not down our expertise. That's really my point there. There's something I forgot to put in my letter. I think town council should remain as a town resident, except in certain areas where you need special expertise. For example, bond counsel and things like that, and perhaps land use litigation counsel. Those can be very complex. But I think in general, town council, the town attorneys, they should reside in our town. I forgot to put that in there. I think that's in the charter already, but I would hope it would remain there.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Ms. Braun, can I please have your address?
Sure, 245 Sunny Ridge.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other questions from the commission members. Thank you, Ms. Braun. Appreciate your comments.
You're welcome.
And I note that Commissioner Iacona has joined the meeting, I believe. Who is the?
Yes, I have. My apologies for joining late. Thank you.
No.
Eve D. And I would, if you could just state your name and address, please.
Yes, this is not ED, it's her husband, Patrick Burhenny. I live at 827 Riverside Drive. I would like to second, Ms. Braun's comments. I live in the flood zone. I rely upon a strong conservation department to take measures to help me help protect my property against the ever increasing dangers from storms, severe storms impacting us. I don't feel that the reduction in the conservation budget was warranted, and I don't feel like I've actually written letters to them and haven't heard a response. I want to just speak also about the idea of changing the town's form of government. I'm against that. I think the RTM system has worked fine for Fairfield for
You faded out. We don't hear anything right now.
Okay, I don't know if you can hear us, but yeah, we've definitely lost him.
We don't sit. Oh yeah, there he is. He's still there, but I can't hear him. You're right.
Maybe we can come back.
Yeah.
Okay, why don't we come back to him?
Okay, I don't see any, no one has requested to speak in the chat. There are 25 participants, including the commission. Okay, so I do see now. Okay, thank you. Mark McDermott.
I think he said that Sharon Pastelli wants to speak. She's on the phone.
Oh, okay.
Yes, to unmute.
Hi, it's Sharon Pastilli. I'm not sure if you can hear me or not.
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you.
Perfect. I'm sorry. I'm only on the phone, so I apologize for that.
That's fine. That's fine.
So
State your, I'm sorry. State your address, please.
Sure. So it's Sharon Pastilli. My address is 107 Loda Drive. And I'm also on the RTM in District 3, but not speaking in that capacity. I was also former chair of the Solid Waste and Recycling Commission for 10 years. Also not speaking in that capacity, just as a regular citizen. I agree with the points that Mr. Flatto made and Ms. Braun made in terms of the checks and balances on our government. I do believe that the size of the RTM is appropriate given the amount of population that we have and the number of representatives that we have, like per district, to handle, concerns that come up in the neighborhoods along with our regular duties. So, it does have an important task in the government, and the town is varied enough in, having a coastal area and a wooded area and more densely populated areas that, we do have a lot of different concerns and interests across the town in a diverse way. So the RTM does do a good job of representing that. I also think that we should consider moving to a town legal department. I think this has come up in the past, rather than just having a town attorney, perhaps having a permanent legal department, and in that legal department, having an attorney just for the RTM. I think we did years ago, before I served on RTM, have someone that was just allocated to that role. But, we are an ordinance creating body, and we rely on, those with the legal background and the town attorney to help us draft ordinances. But there's enough work that would warrant the RTM having its own legal department. So those are my concerns and input, and I do really appreciate all the hard work that everyone on this commission has put into the task at hand. Thanks.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all the work you put in for the town too. Any of the commission members have any clarifying questions? Seeing none, that's it. Thank you very much. Prue, is there anybody else that our gentleman come back on?
Yes, I believe Mr. Burheni is back.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Optimum decided I was done. Just quickly, I've heard suggestions, reasons to change the RTM to a town council being an ability to streamline decision making. And I'm personally somebody who cringes when I hear that. That sounds like a way to stifle dissent. I'm a person that doesn't believe government should be run like a corporation. A CEO makes a decision and unilaterally makes that happen. But, a first select person has to accommodate the people, the 51% who voted for him, but also has to try to appease and represent the 49 who didn't. Democracy is a messy business. I believe, what Churchill said. Democracy is a terrible form of government, but it's better than everything else. And I think we should try to encourage people talking and getting involved rather than finding ways to streamline um, the decision-making process. That's all. And I want to thank the committee for all the work you've done over this past year. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the comments. Any commission members have any questions? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Behenny, thank you very much for calling in. Is there anybody else who want to make a comment? Nobody there?
No one has requested, no. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Ms. Vergara?
Yes, hi, I'm trying to start my video. I apologize. It might be in the process of going. I didn't expect to make a comment. I just had hoped to sit in and listen on the public speaking. And since I have the opportunity to speak to you all, I figured that I should take this opportunity. I did want to thank you all for all of the work that you've been doing. It really is amazing. It's a lot of work and you're putting in a lot of time and energy, and I really do appreciate it. It's an important topic and it will affect the town significantly. So it's a really important work. Thank you.
And thank you. Just for the record, could you give us your address, please?
Sure. It's my name's Jill Vergara. I live at 271 Old Post Road, and I'm a representative of the RTM for District 7. And I've served on the RTM for 7 years now. So I wrote you a letter about needing more resources for legal services. And I think that some people have already spoken about that. And I thought I would talk about some of my reservations that I haven't voiced yet in listening to your last meeting. I don't know Mr. Brogan, but I have to say that I agreed with a lot of what he said. And I am very interested, and the town manager model with the council seems very appealing to me to address some of the issues we've had in town that I think we have to talk about openly, that are definitely significant issues which relate to corruption, the Phil Pyle, problems with building committees, Penfield Pavilion. These are all significant problems. And the idea of having a neutral, impartial, expert town manager to mediate and work between all town bodies and make sure all the checks and balances are occurring is appealing to me on an academic level. I am worried from discussions about being able to find such a person and not having an appropriate market for that. So that's one of my concerns. And I worry about changing the culture of our town. So when I moved here, I had one of those idyllic experiences where I walked with my 2-year-old down the street and met a dozen neighbors and found kids who openly played with us and, you know, were playing in the leaves. And that's how I think about Fairfield. And I think a lot of it has to do, and the friendliness that we have as a town has to do with our participation in government and knowing each other and having tight-knit communities. And I think a lot of that does have to do with the boards and commissions and the fact that when I knock on doors year to year, I always meet people who have served on the RTM and ask me really smart questions and know a lot about what's going on in the government. So I think we're an educated bunch who cares deeply about each other. And so I worry about big changes to that. And my other concern is that this baby step that we're thinking about taking, the interstitial place where people are saying that going to town manager is too big of a step for us to take in one bite. I worry that this interstitial step is the worst possible solution, because to me, having a unitary executive like a mayor and a town council is the worst possible answer and solution to corruption. And so I thing and consolidating power in that way with a really strong executive and a new sort of legislative branch that's much smaller. So while I am very open-minded to discussions about the town manager, and I look forward to hearing about that, I did want to express those reservations that I have about a mayor council structure.
Thank you, Ms. Vergara. Any commission members have any questions? Seeing none, I appreciate your comments very much and your service to the town. Thank you.
Can I make one more comment? I'm so sorry.
Sure, go ahead.
I have also been thinking about this in terms of problems that I've heard other representatives and members of other bodies discuss and who I really respect. And it seems like a lot of people feel like there isn't a defined authority enough for each of the bodies. People don't know exactly where their authority starts and stops, and there's a lot of overlapping jurisdiction that's unclear. In those unclear spaces, it seems like the executive always fills that void, which is a problem because that affects checks and balances. I was thinking maybe we really need to have an org chart, because right now our charter doesn't seem to very clearly define our bodies and what our powers are, all of them. And it would be really helpful to do that and to ensure that all of our boards and commissions are assigned a specific administrator. So they're linked into the executive and there's a communication that is necessarily going to happen between the bodies. Sorry, thanks.
Okay, no problem. Thank you. Appreciate that. Okay. Does anybody else have their hand raised or put in for a comment? Don't see anybody. There's nothing in the chat, right?
There's nothing in the chat, no.
Okay. All right, then. I think since this was a special meeting with only one agenda item, which was the receipt of public comment, if there are no further comments, I would take a motion to adjourn, unless I don't think we have any requirement, do we, Steve, to stay the full hour, or?
No, if there's
Just
no further.
just an observation, Chris.
Yep.
If I might, John
Sure, go
Wynn
right
here.
ahead, please.
John Wynn here. We did receive a fair bit of comments. The comments I think you mentioned earlier have been collected, and Attorney Mednick has all of those comments. They were summarized into a set of email documents that were sent out at various points today to try and include as many comments as we could, as late as we could. But that round of comments supplements a very significant initial round of comments we've received from each and every meeting that we have, and all of those were accumulated as well, so that people who were listening on the phone or provided comments should be, rest assured that we are collecting those, we are looking at them, we've assembled them. Anyone can go back and look at that compendium of email comments at any point, so they have the best access to everyone's thoughts and comments on things.
Good, thank you. Good point. With that, I entertain a motion to adjourn to reconvene at 7 o'clock for our regular meeting. Ms. Iacona moves, seconded. Mr. Batista, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, we'll see you in 20 or some minutes. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.